Hello, hello, hello. We're back. Welcome back to the Bebop Rewatch. This is session 10 that we'll be diving into today. Hello, my name's Jason. I'm the host of the show, as you know, and I'm joined as always by the Rustin Kid, aka Rich Kid. Rich Kid, say what's up.
Did you say session 10?
Mm-hmm.
I've only gonna watch fucking session 12.
You've gone way ahead.
I'm joking. I'm just playing with y'all.
Oh my days.
That silence. Listeners, you guys know Jason from the podcast, but I know Jason. And that silence, it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't. It was not good at all, bro.
The black dog nearly came out. The black dog nearly came out.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you very much, listeners, for joining us. For those of you that don't know what this is the guys from Wulong Talks, and this is our second podcast that we do, which is called the Bebop Rewatch, which has been on a bit of a hiatus recently. But essentially what we do here is every week we try and watch an episode of Cowboy Bebop, the greatest anime TV show ever made, don't at me. And we break down the episode a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the things that we liked, and we discuss kind of the messages and the meanings behind things, and we try to give you a little bit of news surrounding Cowboy Bebop as well. As said, the show has been off for quite a while, so I appreciate that some of you coming to this may have been thinking like, what the hell is this? Like, sorry, what? But there's other episodes out there. As said, this is session 10, so there's another 9 for you to enjoy. Just go to our podcast channel and wherever you're listening to this, be that on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or wherever you are. And look for the Bebop Rewatch, and you'll see all the episodes that we've done so far. So at least it gives you a heads up if you're completely unfamiliar with Cowboy Bebop. But I'm assuming if you're here that you're probably not unfamiliar with it, in which case we may as well get on with the show. So before we kind of get into the episode chat, we're going to do a little something here, which will be Bebop news. Which is something I think we're going to bring into episodes going forward from here, which is where we'll basically just let you know if there's been any developments in the world of Cowboy Bebop, be that with the property itself, or be that with anything themed around Cowboy Bebop. We'll bring that news to you here. So the first little bit of news that I came across is that obviously, as you know by now, there is a Cowboy Bebop live action TV show adaptation currently in the works at Netflix. I managed to dig up a few details on this. Not a hell of a lot, because everything is being kept under wraps so far. It has been rumored that the series is going to be launching in the second quarter of 2020.
What? 2020?
Yes.
I thought we're getting it this year.
No. They've barely even started filming yet. We're not getting it this year.
My life is dead. My life is dead,
Yeah, no. See, you're jumping the gun, bro. No, it will be next year. So 2020 and second quarter. So I'm guessing around sort of June next year is probably when we'll get it. There's rumors that we may have a trailer at the beginning of next year, around sort of January. It should be when we can expect our first teaser trailer and our first kind of look at the show. Apparently the rumors are, again, this is unverified, but the rumors are that filming is set to begin probably next month on the series. So it seems they've pretty much done all their casting and things like that. So as the filming goes ahead, I imagine we'll get like set leaks and photo leaks and things like that. So once that kind of stuff comes out, obviously me and Rich will give you our 10 pence on that. But first of all, let's also clear up a bit of fake news as well, because I don't know if you heard this, Rich, but there was a story doing the rounds on the internet that for the live action TV series, they were going to change Ain's breed as a dog. They were going to turn him into a husky. And when I was digging into it, I actually found some quotes that somebody had posted up, which was supposedly from a Netflix executive, basically saying that, they're I can't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of, we're not going to be slaves to the original material, and if we think something doesn't work in live action, then we're going to change it to we're going to change it to fit the kind of audience that we're targeting and so on. So naturally, the internet kind of was like, "What the hell are you doing to my Cowboy Bebop?" But it turns out it's fake news because the chief writer on Cowboy Bebop then responded on Twitter, who is a guy called Graham Yost, who Rich, you would know him because he's the guy who co-wrote for Ragnarok.
Oh yeah.
So he's currently working on the scripts for Cowboy Bebop, the TV series, and he confirmed via Twitter that that's a bunch of bullshit, and that as far as he's concerned, he said he's been working on the project for 3 years, and in every day of those 3 years, Iron has always been a Welsh corgi, and he said as far as he knows, nothing has changed. So yeah, panic over there because it sounded like people were getting kind of anxious and a bit upset. But Rich, obviously you're not happy to find out we're not getting it sooner, but how do you feel about the developments with the series so far? I mean, I know it's hard for you to say because we don't really know anything, but
I'm still super excited. I mean, I did see a picture. I'm sure we both saw it, Jay. I think it was a couple of weeks ago of John Cho growing out because he's growing out his hair, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he what's it called? I think he's going out to maybe get it styled somehow, but it was some form of anniversary. It may have even been, it wasn't July 4th, it was way longer than that. But it was a picture of him and his father. I think it was for Father's Day, that's what it was. It posted a picture of him and his dad, and he had the spike, and I think he hashtagged like Spike Spiegel or Bebop or something like that. But yeah, I'm still super excited. That fake news that you heard about them not gonna make like Iron. What they're gonna make him a husky, right?
Well, yeah, the fake news story said that they were gonna turn Iron from a Welsh corgi into a husky, which would have been an absolute travesty. And as said, I think people would have lost their shit at that. I mean, particularly because the live action anime remakes have really not been going well. So for them to make that decision would have really turned like the hardcore fans against them. But as I said, it looks like it was fake news. But I mean, my question would be, why would you make up something like that anyway? I mean, some people are really bored and have nothing better to do with their lives than make up like fake news for the internet. But
you know what I mean, the thing is, like, not to sound high and mighty or pompous or anything, but to some of you listeners out there who may have not have seen Cowboy Bebop, the thing of like hearing the news of Iron being changed from a Welsh corgi into a husky, you know, that sends shivers down my spine, because it just reminds me of the type of board meetings that Michael Bay might have had with his people when he was making Transformers films. Like, they were just like, yeah, you see that? Yeah, that. Pick it up. Okay, throw out the fucking window. This is what we're gonna do. We're not gonna like respect anybody. This is fucking America. That's what that type of rumor, listeners, is the kind of shivers that it sends up my spine, and I'm sure a couple of other people, because it just goes the complete opposite way of what Iron is meant to be. Iron is not physically threatening. He's meant to be the smart dog. So the minute I hear that a rumor of them gonna change Iron into like a husky, that makes me think they're going to give him more of a physical role in the show, which is completely against the character. And yeah, I mean, whoever posted it, like you said, was bored and just clearly wanted a reaction. But Craig Yost saved the day, man.
Yeah, very much so.
Was it Chris Yost?
Graham Yost.
Craig Yost? Graham Yost,
yeah. So,
but yeah, people are boring. People have got no lives.
Yeah, I guess so. They're just out here trying to fuck with us, man. That's what they're doing.
Yes,
Exactly. But yeah, that's it so far for the news. So I said we'll try and do some more little news segments like these as and when there's any big developments and things coming across that we learn about Cowboy Bebop, be that the live action TV show or anything else that's Cowboy Bebop related. Basically, we'll try and keep you abreast of it and let you know. But yeah, let's dive into the episode. I said we're at session number 10 for those of you who are watching along. This session is called Ganymede Elegy, and
Eulogy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose you would pronounce it eulogy, wouldn't you? Really, even though it's spelled elegy. But my goodness, this episode, I think this episode, and you know, this is really repetitive, so I'm sorry, listeners, because we keep doing this on every episode. But this has got to be like one of my favorite episodes today because it's just so. Again, you know, it's one of those things that me and Rich keep saying over and over again. So I'm so sure you're bored of us saying it now, but you know, we keep saying how this show just never ceases to surprise you and to do something left field. And you know, the show just does stuff with different themes and different ideas in a way that I don't think any other anime does. And that's not to say that there aren't other animes out there that I love and don't hold dearly to my heart. And you know, there's some that have tremendous quality, but what makes Bebop unique is this thing that it crosses so many boundaries and it covers so many genres, and it always has this ability to surprise you. And this episode in particular is a surprise because it focuses a lot less on kind of like action and hijinks and things like that, and it's a lot more about characters. It's kind of like a character study in 30 minutes basically, which is a bloody hard thing to pull off, but they managed to do it. And it's just one of those stories that again shows how adult and how complex, you know, these characters are that we're introduced to on the Bebop, and the fact that this show isn't afraid to make its characters complex. You know, there's nothing one-dimensional about anybody involved in this particular episode, and you know, the Cowboy Bebop as a series kind of revels in showing us, you know, the shades of gray between people. Things are never black and white. There's always two sides to every story. You know, people always have two different sets of motivations for doing what they do, and you know, this is what makes it so fascinating. Rich, you know, I mean, how did you feel about this episode? I mean, I know you feel kind of strongly about this as well.
Yeah,
So yeah. I mean, how are you feeling about this one?
I love this episode, but it's one of those things where it's like it's weird because it's like, you know, like I said, listeners out there who have watched the show and listeners out there who haven't watched the show, people that I've met who like Bebop, when you first meet them and you hear about the passion of what they like in the show, you can always tell kind of which characters they like most gravitate to and which episodes are their best episodes. So I like this episode, but Jay, I know that I don't love it as much as you do. Like this is you. Like this is like, so I mean, whatever I'm gonna explain, Jason, probably you're gonna feel like 10 times more because this is your type. This is your type of storytelling. This is one of the reasons why I've always said that, like, listeners out there, when me and Jay do what we do, and the reason why we've been friends for so long, is because we're the complete opposite, but we understand each other perfectly. And when you meet people who have watched Cowboy Bebop, like you like the way how they start revealing about how, you know, what they loved about you, be like, yeah, you're this character. This is probably your favorite episode, and blah blah blah. We've got another guy, friend of ours called Jed, coming on. And Jay, think about it. When we first watched Bebop, the first thing you said was like, okay, yeah, we got to get Jed. And I was like, yeah, great. What episode? And we both looked at each other and was like, yeah, that horror episode, man. Fuck it. Like, that's him. Like, you know, it just, so it's like, it's not even just like it's one of those episodes where it's not just a character study on the people in the show, but it makes you reflect on yourself in the way how everything is handled in this episode, because it's quite different to everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And it's funny how, you know, Cowboy Bebop has managed to, as you put it, like reach different people through different episodes. You know,
Yeah.
everybody kind of gravitates towards a specific episode that speaks to them in some way, and it again shows you the power of, you know, the writing and how well this whole series was put together, and how well, you know, they understood the characters they were working with and what they were trying to do with each of them. So yeah, man, let's stop waxing lyrical. Let's get into the episode itself. So as said, folks, this episode is session number 10, Ganymede Eulogy. So the episode starts off in kind of a Well, in a way that you wouldn't really expect for the way the rest of the episode falls out, in the sense that basically we're on the Bebop, and the Bebop crew have just caught a bounty, a guy called Baker Panchorero, I think his name is, or something like that.
Baker
Panchorero, isn't it? Yeah, there's some trivia behind that name, isn't there? But we'll get to that, I think. Yeah, but I'm sure there's some trivia behind that name. But yeah, so Baker is tied up in the ship, and the Bebop crew are going to cash in on the bounty, one of those rare bounties that they've actually managed to capture. And while he's tied up, he's making a whole heap of noise and talking about how he's going to get out here and all of that kind of stuff. So Ed, the dog, goes over to investigate, and he kind of tries to threaten Ed, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then sorry. Got that completely wrong. Iron goes to torment the Baker. Yeah, so it's Iron who goes to kind of investigate Baker, and you know, Baker's kind of mean to Iron, which upsets Edward. So she comes along, and she's not having none of it, and she just like torments the hell out of him. And it's just such a funny scene because like Ed is just literally on a wind up at this point, and he's just doing all these kind of things like messing with Baker's head and
biting his
ears, doing all kind of like stuff like that. And Baker's just getting more and more pissed, and there's absolutely nothing he can do because he's tied up in the bowels of the ship. But again, the scene's just great because it just reminds you of just how much of a breath of fresh air Ed is to the story, you know, and to these characters as well. And because I said the show kind of deals with some heavy emotions at times, it's nice to have, you know, Ed be there to lighten the mood a little bit and to add a bit of wackiness and off the wallness to the scene, you know. But
you know what I love about that scene? Like this is the icing on the cake for that scene. It's the music. It's the song that's playing.
Yeah.
They are mocking it.
Yeah. That is very true. That is very true.
Like, obviously, if a bounty hunter's after you, obviously you're clearly someone dangerous. Like, you know, there's different levels of dangerous, but to us normal folk, dangerous on the level 1 is kind of fucked up. And he's just tied up to a pole, and and Ed's just chewing on his ear. And I think the song that's playing, that's not Mushroom for Samba, is it? Or Ed Samba?
I think it's the Cat Blues that's playing.
The Cat Blue, like that's that song that mocks it. It just makes it the best thing.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself when you were describing it, do you think they open with that scene just to bring us in and be like, okay, cool, here's a little bit of funniness, but the rest of the episode is really, really going to be serious? Because if they didn't have that bit at the beginning, this episode would be kind of
it would be kind of it would be heavy emotionally this episode. So I think you're onto a good point there. I do think that's true. I think they probably brought that scene in because as you said, this episode is not because it deals with any like difficult issues as such, but just because it's so emotionally charged, and you know, there's a lot of issues that they do deal with, or themes that they do touch on that you know, will bring a lot of emotion out of the audience. So I guess the best way to kind of break them is to break them in with a bit of humor. So you know, that is the perfect way to kind of start the episode, really. So I think that's a good point that you made there, and I reckon that's probably true. So with the episode beginning in that way, we find out, as said, that the crew are off to go and drop off this bounty. And while they're on the ship, Jet is kind of on the ship as well, and he's piloting, and he's kind of being a bit pensive and you know, being even more grumpy than his usual self. And we're not sure entirely why, but we find out that the crew are actually heading to Ganymede, which is, I believe, is one of the moons of Jupiter, I think.
Yes, it is. I confirmed with Luca.
Okay, I was going to say if Luca was here, he would confirm for us. But so Ganymede is one of the moons that orbits Jupiter, and the crew are heading off there to drop off their bounty. And as said, you know, Jet is even more you know, kind of pensive and kind of slightly tense than he usually is. And then I think Spike and Faye start winding them up a little bit, don't they?
Yeah.
Because
Well, I don't know. I think it's just Faye. I think it's just Faye that's just going through it at this point.
right. Because at this point, Jet is looking at an old pocket watch, isn't he? And he's kind of sort of reminiscing with this pocket watch. And I think at first it's Faye who pushes his buttons, but then Spike does come in and get a few digs in as well. But it's Faye. But then she's not even really pushing his buttons. She's just asking him, like what's what's the deal? What's with the watch? And Jet is very reluctant to say anything at all. And it's funny, Rich, that this scene kind of it reminded me that again in this episode we find out about Jet's nickname, the Black Dog, and when I thought about it, they say that the reason they call him the Black Dog is because he's like a dog with a bone. Once he's got a case and he never lets it go and things like that. But I did wonder if it was also maybe a reference to bouts of depression that maybe Jet has, because the Black Dog was what Winston Churchill used to refer to his depression as. He used to call it the Black Dog. Yeah. So whenever he had like bad days, he would say, "I'm being visited by the Black Dog." And because of how this episode unfolds and the journey that Jet kind of goes on, and because of how his character can be, I did wonder if maybe they were alluding to something there, or maybe I'm making it up. I don't know, but yeah, I did wonder if that was something that they were trying to suggest maybe is happening there. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I can. I've never actually really thought of Jet suffering from depression before, but now that you've just mentioned it now, episodes before, and I think definitely episodes that are going to be coming up, you can see that he really does try to keep himself upbeat with certain things that you wouldn't really think that someone who looks that way or sounds that way would do. Like there's certain episodes you find him doing meditating, right? Then there's one bit he's got bonsai trees as well, right? Yeah, and then this, he could be someone who suffers from depression, so he's all like bouts of like heightened emotions. So that's the reason why he's always trying to do these things. So so that could be a thing why it's called the Black Dog. His depression might be a bit obsessive compulsive, like where he just because that's what, if you think about it, that's his role on the ship. He's in this constant thing of like, I have to control this, I have to look after everybody. And as we get more into the episode, we'll see that that's one of the traits that could be some form of depression that he doesn't know he's got. But at the end, there could be a little bit of a change, or maybe I'm just waffling. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, hey, that's what this podcast is for, right? So we might as well do it. But yeah, it was just something that came to me, whilst sort of watching that episode, really, and it made me kind of think about his character in general and how that kind of thing is handled. So I don't know, we'll see. But as I said, listeners, you can make your own minds up for yourself as you watch the episode and as you continue to watch Cowboy Bebop the series as well. It'll be interesting to see kind of how that develops. But anyways, the story kind of progresses. They get contacted on the Bebop by Jet's old partner, a police officer called Donnelly. And Donnelly and Jet kind of have a catch up and a chat. And they kind of reminisce about the old days. And then Donnelly gives Jet some information, and he says that, Jet's ex-girlfriend, a woman named Alyssa, is actually still based in Ganymede. And we find out through kind of the course of the episode that Ganymede was on Jet's beat when he was a beat cop. So it was kind of the area that he worked. And it said, Alyssa was someone he was very close to. That was his ex-girlfriend, and she's still there. So you kind of get the sense straight away from the story that they're obviously setting things up for, Jet to have a reunion with Alyssa. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happens next. Pretty much as soon as they touch down on Ganymede, which, by the way, I really like the way they set up Ganymede. It kind of, they design it so it looks like a port city almost. Yeah. So I found it looked like it reminded me a little bit of like there's parts of Crete in Greece. For anybody who's who's been to kind of Crete and or even Santorini as well, because Santorini kind of has that as well. You know, it really kind of reminded me of like sort of Mediterranean old port cities. You know, places where you get a lot of boats, and that's exactly how the you know the animators have designed this this part of Ganymede to look like, and it's really evocative. It kind of made me feel like I was on holiday, which is a weird thing to say, but like because it's so well, you know, well drawn, well colored, and it's so vibrant, it really draws you in. And as I said, it just reminded me of all of these holidays that I've been on to the places, and just made me think, oh, I want to go back on holiday again, because it just looks so nice, you know. But anyway, as I said, when they touch down, Jet heads out to go and track down Alyssa at a bar that she owns called La Fin, which is in a port that they land at. So he heads off there, and while he heads off, Spike and Faye go and cash in the bounty, and they're kind of talking about you know, Jet and his behavior and the ex-girlfriend. And I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head, Rich, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I got the impression that maybe like Faye was trying to dig and Spike was just kind of like, leave it, like that's his business, and kind of leave it alone. Which I think was again kind of shows the relationship between Spike and Jet, where Spike is actually very protective of Jet, even though it doesn't come across that way all the time. And it kind of shows you the you know that Spike very much has this front he puts up of being this guy who, you know, I don't care about anything, and you know, all I care about is my personal freedom and doing what I want when I want. But when push comes to shove, there are actually people that he cares about, that he will, you know, put his own feelings aside or his own thoughts aside to protect somebody else. So yeah, I found that, you know, that interaction really cool as well, and trying to make that off. But anyway, they kind of head back to the
chime in.
Yeah, go for
it. See that scene that you're talking about? You know what I love about the thing that Spike says when he's backing Jet up is like you said, when you look at Bebop and the way how it was so forward thinking in stuff that it dealt with. Like we've seen, you know, white people turn into black people, assassins. You're gonna see hermaphrodites at some point. You've seen like super crazy dogs, and then you've also got these characters that, if they were written, let's say a particular, you know, a little bit, let's say in the 70s or 80s, they would have been quite machismo and, you know, nothing bothers me, nothing hurts me. So not only is he just sticking up for his friend, but he is the way how he talks about women, because Faye's being quite derogatory to the way how women are, and like you know, oh, she's just another one that she's gonna break your heart, she's not gonna do this, and you know, yada yada yada. And Spike turns around and to the same effect kind of goes like, not all women are like that, you know, some of them are really really good, maybe you should kind of take a look in the mirror. And that's how he shoots her down. That's, you know, that shows you once again that it's not only something that he, you know, Jet's somebody that he cares about, but there's obviously some form of heartbreak that Spike is dealing with or has dealt with. So if you pick up on that and you start looking at a couple of the, you know, the flashbacks or like the end credit sequence from the episodes before, listeners, you see certain pieces of information being revealed that particular point is just random. So you're really gonna have to pay attention. But that's what I love about that scene. Like you said, Jay, he's looking after Jet, but at the same time he reveals a little bit about himself while he's looking up for this guy, because he knows what he's going to.
Yeah, exactly that. So I mean, that's a really good observation by Rich there. But yeah, I mean, as said, it just again shows you kind of how, you know, brilliantly three-dimensional these characters are. And you almost kind of get the impression with Faye as well, that the disdain that she kind of has for love and relationships and things like that is because she's been hurt before, and so she just kind of, she's putting on a tough edge to kind of, you know, to kind of protect herself, I guess, from becoming too emotionally involved in anything. But as said, in later on in the series, we find out a lot more about Faye and the kind of things that she's been through. So you'll understand why her opinion of women and love and things like that is a certain way. But yeah, that was a great interaction as well in this episode. And again, as said, this episode really kind of is pushing character and the characters to the forefront, and really trying to tell you a bit more about who these people are. So anyway, in the story, it said Jet manages to find his way to Lefin, which is his ex-girlfriend Alyssa's bar. And whilst he's there, he bumps into a guy named Rint, who pretty much kicks out as soon as Jet kind of gets in, and Rint is looking like nervous as hell and really skittish and stuff. So there's something dodgy going on with him. But anyway, Alyssa recognizes Jet, and Jet recognizes Alyssa, and the two of them sort of start to reminisce a bit and talk about their lives and what they've been up to lately. Alyssa kind of explains that Rint is her boyfriend, and then Jet tells her, well, he's a bounty hunter now. And then Jet pulls out this watch, and then he kind of starts to say a little bit about kind of how he used to have this relationship with her, and he was willing to do everything for her, and he would have done what moved heaven and earth for her. Basically, he was just completely in love with Alyssa, and then you find out that Alyssa left him, and she left him just very suddenly one day. She left him the watch as a gift, and I think she left. Did she leave a note, or did she just leave the watch and that was it? I can't remember.
She just left
the watch. That's it.
Yeah.
So she pretty much abruptly gets up and leaves. And as the conversation kind of expands, it's clear that Jet is not quite over what happened. I mean, he might well accept that the relationship is over. I don't think he was trying to rekindle anything, but I think Jet is still processing what happened, and he's still trying to come to terms with it. And he wants answers. He wants to know why things have went the way that they went. And Alyssa kind of tells him point blank that basically she left because he was too mollycoddling in the relationship. He was too, he suffocated her. I mean, there's a really beautiful line that she says. I don't know if she says it right in that point in the story or a little bit later on, but there's a beautiful quote that I pulled up, which from what she says to him, which kind of sums up her view of their relationship. So I'll just read the quote real quickly, Richard. It's, that's just how you were back then. You decided everything. In the end, you were always right. When I was there with you, I never had to do anything for myself. All I had to do was hang onto your arm like a child without a care in the world. I wanted to live my own life, make my own decisions, even if they were terrible mistakes. And that piece of dialogue there, I love that. That's brilliant. Because again, it just shows you the depth that these writers have gone to with the characters that they've put together for this show. It's not often that you get that level of intimacy from an anime character where they're talking that deeply about their feelings, and it actually means something. And not only that, but it can, as said, strike a chord with people who've been in love before and who've lost before, which I'm sure listeners is probably all of us. So at some point we've probably all lost somebody that we love, be it through them leaving or other means. But we've all had our heart broken, and that quote kind of encapsulates like how Alyssa felt about that relationship at the time. And the idea that Jet could be overbearing and overprotective comes as no surprise to us if you've been watching the episodes from 1 up till 10, because that's exactly the kind of character traits that Jet shows at different times throughout the series. So you kind of understand from her point of view, like, you know, that's kind of suffocating, and it does make you feel like a child. And the last thing you want to feel like in a relationship is that you're a subordinate to your partner. You want to feel like you're equal, you know, that you're two equals meeting each other on a level playing field. The moment you feel like you're beneath them, that relationship is going to have problems. And I think, you know, Jet is kind of taken aback when he's confronted by Alyssa's answer, because I think in his head, obviously, you know, him being the type of man that he is, and on top of that, being a cop at the time as well, you know, his first instinct was, I must protect, I must, you know, I must shield. But it's a very thin line between protecting and controlling, and you know, when you cross the line into controlling, then you're really starting to mess with people's feelings then. But yeah, you know, I really loved that scene, and I said that I loved that quote as well. And I mean, Richard, as I said, you know, we've all kind of been in this boat before. So did that kind of strike any chord with you, that kind of back and forth between Jet and Alyssa?
Yeah. Once again, the thing that got me was, I don't know, I felt that he never thought that he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I got from him. Like, you know, like she, you know, she, like you said, she just unloads this thing on him, and it's just like, and it's so hard hitting. And even when he gets confronted with it, he knows that she's upset, but he's like, "What? I thought you just left because, you know, I didn't think I did anything wrong, but I just, you know, I love you, so I'd wait for you." But there's that stubbornness. And once again, it, like I said, it brings up that character that, you know, that is called of the black dog, like he doesn't let anything go, like he's too stubborn, you know, to give up, you know, even if something is like staring you point blank in the face, it has to be told in a particular way. So that's what I love about that scene. It's just that he's just like, fuck, after all this time, I thought, you know, it was just you, but I did something wrong. Fuck, I wish I knew. That's what I love, and that's what I love from that.
Yeah, I mean, there's another brilliant quote as well that I've just pulled up here, which I'll share with you as well, which where, you know, Jet is asking her, you know, kind of why did you leave, and these kind of things, and you know, Alyssa responds with, and I quote, "The way you talk about it, you seem to think that time really has stopped here. That's a story from long ago, and I've forgotten about it. Time never stands still." And it is kind of like Jet is almost, as said, because he's kind of not really dealt with what happened in terms of the way the relationship ended. He's trapped himself emotionally in a box. And you know, he can't get out, he can't move on, he can't get closure, because he, as you said, Rich, he doesn't really see that he's done anything wrong. So he just kind of, the way he sees it, you know, everything was great, we were doing fine, and then I came home one day and you were gone. You know, and that's it. Whereas, as said, as we often know with human relationships, things can often be a lot more complicated than that, and usually there's a lot more bubbling under the surface, as Alyssa lets him know. But you know, I like that line as well, because it shows how, you know, how emotionally we can become trapped by our pasts, and trapped by, you know, the decisions we make, or the things that have happened to us, and how we can't move on, we can't reach that closure, and we can't, you know, progress as people because of these things. And yeah, it just blows me away, man. As said, this episode really blows me away. We're not even like halfway through, and it's crazy, like how much, you know, depth the writers have given these characters, and the kind of dialogue that they've given them, and the fact that it's so understanding of the human condition. You know, that's what I love so much about this episode, and it's what I love of Cowboy Bebop in general. But anyway, while all of this is going on, the rest of the Bebop crew are kind of just hanging out, really. Faye is trying to suntan. I think Ed and Ayn are trying to fish, right?
They are.
Yeah. And then I think, doesn't Ed ask Faye, why are you tanning, or something like that?
No, she doesn't know what it is. She's just like, why are you putting in your body?
Yeah.
And then once again, the way how Faye, the response that Faye gives to Ed is once again like how she was at the beginning. Is like it's quite down putting to women somewhat. She's like, this is what women have to do to be able to attract X, Y, and Z, even though at the end of the day is all gonna be, you know, they're all gonna just drop you and leave you anyway and go with something better or something like that. But it's just for there and then. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a very womanly thing to say if you're trying to be positive.
No, and as I said, it kind of it shows you it gives you an idea of how kind of messed up Faye's psyche is, and as said, listeners, you know, there's a lot more to come from Faye in future episodes, so you will get to learn, you know, kind of a bit of her philosophy and how she's come to be in a place where, you know, she views herself and other women in such a way. But you know, as Rich said, it's odd for, you know, a woman to be talking down other women so frequently, and so flippantly in the way that Faye does. But it, you know, it is interesting, and it does kind of shape, I guess, how we see Faye going forward at this point as well. You know, so it's a very different side to her character. No, as you said, it's not different. It's kind of what we've seen from day one, from the moment we were introduced to her, really. So yeah, you know, it does make sense that they would continue to do that. But as said, in later episodes, we'll cover a bit more about Faye. But the gang are kind of all busy. Spike, I think, is fixing the swordfish or something like that at that point. But then another call comes through from Donnelly, and this time he has more information about a bounty that is on Ganymede that they can collect, that's worth a lot of money. And wouldn't you believe it, the bounty is none other than Alyssa's new boyfriend, Rint. We then get a kind of a flashback scene where it kind of shows what happened and how the bounty came about. And basically Rint shot a man, but he shot him in self-defense because he was a loan shark who Alyssa had borrowed money from to keep the bar open. Excuse me. And because the bar's been struggling, she needed to borrow this money, so she went to this loan shark. The loan shark has since been trying to shake her down to get his money back. He then got aggressive, and Rint came in and shot the loan shark. And as a result, he's a wanted man, so he's on the run. So Spike kind of, you know, finds this out, and he heads off to go and get Jet. And to say, you know, that basically this guy Rint, Alyssa's boyfriend, is the bounty. And you know, Spike was going to head off and go and get him, and Jet's like, no, like, this is mine, you know, this is my beat. Ganymede was my beat, and, you know, this is my story almost, so I have to you know, I have to settle this score because this is bringing closure to my story. I have to deal with this. And that's when he kind of reveals, you know, they call me the Black Dog because once I bite a case, I never let go. So after that, you get like a pretty wicked cool speedboat chase between Jet on the Hammerhead and Alyssa and Rint as they kind of escape onto a speedboat and are speeding along. Basically, eventually they manage to Jet manages to use the Hammerhead's kind of harpoon to break the back of the speedboat that they're on. And then the speedboat crashes into the dock. Then Rint and Alyssa are trying to escape on foot, and Jet kind of confronts them. And basically, I think was it Rint that tried to shoot Jet, and then Alyssa takes the gun from him and is pointing it. Yeah, because that scene as well, I was like, holy shit, like this is really good. This is really crazy because I was not expecting that. But basically, yeah, Alyssa you know, takes the gun from Rint and points it at Jet, and then she really does unload on him. And I think actually that's where the speech about the controlling and things like that comes from. The controlling nature that Jet has comes from, you know. And, you know, Jet is still trying to kind of protect Alyssa, and he's like, oh, you know, if you just put the gun down If you put the gun down, then you can say you weren't, his accomplice and things like that. And, the police won't charge you. And she's basically saying, no, this is my man and I'm going to stand by my man. You can't come into my life and start telling me what to do again and controlling me again. That's not how I want to live my life. I left you because I don't want to be controlled by you. So please don't try and control me now. I've made my choice. This is my choice. So eventually, Alyssa kind of unloads all of this emotional stuff. And again, Jet, I think, is a bit taken aback, but she lowers the gun. Rint tries to get away, but Jet kind of gets hold of him and she subdues him. And they both give up as the ISSP kind of start taking over the dock, and there's police cars everywhere. Rint gets taken into custody. And Jet kind of says to Alyssa, that Rint will probably get out on a self-defense plea. And I love the last scene of the episode, which is, as Jet is kind of walking away from the police cars and, from the whole scene that's been left behind, he takes the watch out of his pocket again and he throws it in the river behind him over his shoulder. As if to say, he's put the past behind him finally and he's got his closure and he walks off. And I just thought that was just so brilliant because it was just so kind of, it was, again, a level of subtlety that you don't always get in anime in general. And it was kind of really clever to bring, to bring him closure in that way and to have that be the final scene. Just to show you that, Jet's kind of he's got his mojo back a little bit, and he kind of feels a little bit of peace with everything that's happened. And as I said, I just thought it was a great ending. But I mean, how about you? What did you think about the end?
Well, the thing that I got from it is that, like, throughout the whole episode, this feels like you can tell that the surroundings that they're in is just super slow, almost as if time has even stopped. That's what I felt like. So there's that bit, that the little woodpecker thing that keeps on dipping its beak in the water throughout the episodes. It's almost like a timer. You know what I'm talking about? Jason? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, my headphones just went a bit funny there, but sorry about that.
Oh,
but yeah.
Okay, cool. But did you hear what I said? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And basically, it feels like that, but everything is just still standing still, and it's not even really Jet that needs the closure. It was Alyssa that needed the closure, and then Jet was like, "Okay, I've done my thing," and then he walks off, and then he throws the watch over. But at that point, her life was just dead. Like, she said that, she felt controlled and she wanted to live and everything, but yeah, she was still stuck in a deadbeat place. It's only when he comes, and all of a sudden now she's got this amazingness, well, not amazingness, but like this one last hurrah that's finally gonna get her off Ganymede, or really, really now be in love with this person and not, and forget about Jet. Jet doesn't need the closure for me in this episode. He just needs to do the right thing. That's what I got. But that whole thing, like you said, of him throwing the watch over his shoulder, is into a stream, which is, a living, breathing, moving thing. But the watcher stood still, but it gets taken over. So now time can move forward for both of them. That's what I got from it.
No, I totally get that, man. And I agree 100%. I think that that line that she says, where she says to him that I wanted to live my own life and make my own decisions, even if there were terrible mistakes, is exactly what that is what happens in the episode. She lives her own life. She makes her own decision to stand by her man, and she makes a mistake. And that's exactly what she wanted. So, yeah, she got closure as well. Sorry. I'm just trying to drink down this drink real quick because my throat is dry.
I don't think that's quick enough, dude, but take your time.
No, it's not really, is it? But, yeah, it's that, that closure that I guess they both wanted, they finally got,
Mm.
in that way. And that's what I really love about the episode. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. That's how it kind of ends. But Rich, you wanted to talk about the end credits as well, because you said there was something interesting in there that we should have a look at. So
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the end of the credits, it shows some black and white stills, and you figure out that they're basically flashback scenes from the history of Spike. Um, and this does kind of like tie in, I think, with the theme of falling in love, and you thinking that your partner may want something or vice versa, but not really understanding when they're making a wrong decision. It's basically Spike, Vicious, who we have met already, and Julia, which and from what you can kind of gather from the pictures that which are black and white, is that Spike and Vicious are really, really good friends. At some point, Spike starts hanging out with Julia. That's one frame. Then another frame, it's Vicious walking in on Spike and Julia coming into the flat, and then it's a heart to heart with Spike and Vicious. But then there's this, as the slides go on, is you can see that there's a lot more and more tension being brought into the relationship. And the reason why I'm pointing this out, listeners, is because you don't really get given this again in later episodes or even told it. So you're left all these little clues in conversations that Spike may have with, let's say, trying to protect Jet when Faye's trying to wind them up, and then obviously saying the same thing about feeling strongly about how women are nice people, not how Faye's trying to describe them. And then you also see the end credits of this and how he was so in love with somebody that it was enough to make him turn his back on his best friend. You're not going to get that throughout the show again. So all these little things, when you watch it, is going to start making sense. But yeah, we're going to keep on doing that from each episode. When there's any form of like little flashback scenes, we'll do a little bit of back history in that as well. So yeah.
Yep, no doubt. So if you're watching along, make sure you watch the end credits of each episode very closely as well, because as Rich said, they're giving you a lot of clues away as to what's going to happen next. So yeah, keep them peeled. Right. Well, as I said, that's the end of the episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to go across now to our trusty friend, Beboppedia, which is a wiki for all things Cowboy Bebop. If you want to check it out, just Google Beboppedia and it will pop up, and it gives you loads of background information behind episodes and things like that as well. It's really quite cool. Now, there is a couple of little tidbits to add to this episode. So in terms of homages and references, the Black Dog, Jet's nickname, is actually a reference to the Led Zeppelin song, which is a freaking bada song if you know it. Do you know Black Dog, Rich?
No, I don't think I do.
You probably do, but you probably do, but you probably don't know the name.
Okay.
It's one of their more famous ones. But yeah, Black Dog's the awesome song. So Baker Panchorero. Oh, Baker Panchorero. Okay, get this. Baker Panchorero, the name of the bounty head in the beginning of the session, is named after the last names of the main characters of the 1970s police drama Chips. John Baker and Francis Panchero. Yeah,
because they used to call him Poncho,
didn't they? Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that was him. So that's where the name come from. So I thought, okay, yeah, like I knew the name was familiar, but I couldn't remember where I'd heard it before or what. But yeah, it made sense. So some trivia bits, as Rich confirmed for us via Luca, Ganymede is the largest moon of Jupiter and the largest natural satellite in the solar system. It's composed of silicate rock and water and ice. Evidence shows that the moon has a tenuous oxygen-based atmosphere and possible saltwater ocean beneath its icy crust. A eulogy or an elegy is defined as a mournful, melancholic, or plaintive poem, especially a funeral song or a lament for the dead. The word comes from the Greek word elegia, which is a reflection on the death of someone or a sorrow in general. And La Fine, the name of the bar that Alyssa owns, is a French term and it means the end. Alyssa opened the bar herself as a way of taking control of her life, which would indicate a new beginning or an end to her dependency on others. However, she was forced to take a loan from a criminal once again to be dependent on someone else to care for her. So yeah, that kind of makes sense actually. Now I think about that. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it for the trivia. So yeah, a few little tidbits there. We got some news as well because Rich is getting another Cowboy Bebop tattoo. So Rich, tell everybody what you're getting.
So basically, it's a design of the word bang, but written as if it was fingers doing like a trigger sign. So people who have watched Cowboy Bebop, like let's put it this way, like I said at the beginning of the show, you can meet people who have watched Cowboy Bebop and just say, one word, or you can like quote a whole scene, but they'll know. Like you'll just know. Like you could just be so, oh, you watch Cowboy Bebop? Yeah. Bang, and I'll just be like, bruv, you know what? Yeah, that bit. So like people that haven't got that far, trust me, when you get to that scene, you'll understand that this is enough. As crazy as it sounds, it's my another homage to Spike. Is gonna go across another Spike tattoo that I've got that's basically all done the right side of my ribs of him holding a gun, towards or pointing a gun out towards you. So when it gets done, we'll post it on the Instagram and Twitter page.
Oh yeah, no doubt, absolutely. Yeah, as Rich said, we do have social media as well. You can find us at Wulong Talks as well. And we also have an Instagram for the Bebop Rewatch podcast, which is simply called the Bebop Rewatch. Although I think I might start posting more stuff on Wulong Talks in general purely because I can't get into the Bebop Rewatch account at the moment. So yeah, I'm probably going to end up posting some stuff on Wulong Talks as well. But yeah, there'll be a short trailer at the end of this episode, so just have a listen to that if you want to know how to find us on the social medias and all of that. And yeah, Rich will definitely be posting up a picture of his latest Cowboy Bebop tattoo when that's done. And if you lot have got Cowboy Bebop tattoos, let us know as well. We want to see him, and we're happy to post them up as well if you're cool with that. So yeah, get in touch with us and send them over, man, and we'll be happy to do that for you. All right, we're gonna draw this session to a close. That is that. As said, this was an episode that I thoroughly enjoyed and I think was one of my favorites. Rich, I think, likes it a lot as well. Perhaps not necessarily one of his favorite episodes necessarily, but I think he enjoyed it a great deal as well because of just how much we get from this episode in terms of characters and development. So yeah, it's good fun. So make sure you go and check it out for yourselves as well. Unfortunately, Cowboy Bebop, I think, has been removed from UK Netflix now.
Yeah, it has. Yeah,
which is a real shame. But it was on there for a long time, to be fair. But I think you can still find it if you have Crunchyroll. You could probably find it there. In fact, you definitely can find it on Crunchyroll. I know it's on there. And there's other places as well. You can check it out. I mean, some of them aren't necessarily legal, so I'm not going to list them here.
Yeah.
But
Well, Vice, they shot on Vice, don't they?
Oh yes, that's right. I believe on the Vice channel they've started showing it as well. So if you watch Vice TV, which I think is on Sky, then Sky in the UK, sorry for UK listeners, then you should be able to find Cowboy Bebop on there because I believe they're showing the entire series again on Vice as well. So yeah, you can definitely check it out from there. And as I said, it's on DVD and Blu-ray too, so you can pick up a DVD copy or a Blu-ray copy. You could probably get one secondhand if you don't necessarily want to buy it new, but we highly recommend that you do, man, because it's just an amazing series. And we want you to watch along with us, so yeah, pick up a copy. But yeah, as I said, that's it. We're going to draw this episode to a close. We'll be back again very soon with session 11, which I believe is going to be the horror episode that Richard was referring to earlier. Yeah. So we'll try and get our good buddy Jed Shepherd on to have a chat about some of the horror elements in that episode as well. because it's always nice to have a guest on these things. But yeah, we're going to call it a day. So I'm out here. I'll be saying good night. Rich, say good night.
Good night.
And we'll see you guys again real soon. So take care of yourselves and be safe. Peace. And we out. Thanks for listening to us. If you're down with Woolong Talks, show some love by following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Woolong Talks. You can also find us online at www.woolongtalks.com or drop us an email at woolongtalkspodcast@gmail.com. We can also be found as part of the Britpod Scene Collective, and we're also officially E14 endorsed. Search for those hashtags to enjoy more content from us and from other great British podcasters.